Well, welcome to Frontline Magic. This is where we connect with leaders from around the world to find out how they drive amazing customer experiences by leading from their front line. I'm Aaron Ward, and very excited today to introduce Travis Tyler, who's the Chief Product Officer and Marketing Officer at the digital bank 86400 in Australia. How are you doing, Travis?
I'm great, thank you, Aaron. Great to be here.
Great to have you on here, and I've been excited about doing this. You know, I'm a bit of a challenger brand fanatic. I'm always for the little guy in the fight. I love anybody that's looking to challenge the status quo, to come up with a different answer. And I don't think you could find a more challenging category to try this in than in banking. You know, in a David versus Goliath, I don't think Goliaths come any bigger than the brands that you're taking on. So just from one fanboy, I'm really looking forward to hearing about the fight that you're bringing to banking in Australia. First of all, though, I'd really love to just understand a little bit more about you personally and what led you to this moment to really taking on one of the biggest categories in the world.
Yeah, for my sins, I am a career banker, so I'm coming up to 25 years. I've worked across all parts of the value chain. So I've worked in operations, finance, product, distribution, and digital. And for me, where I got to in my career, I love building experiences, and I love building things that go direct to the customer, but solve a problem. And the opportunity came up. I was working at one of those large institutions in Australia, one of the big banks. And I think it's a bit of a misnomer that, that it's only institutionalized. If you want to look for innovation, find people that get things done in a big bank or a big corporation. And the opportunity to go be part of something new and change an industry came up with 86400, and I jumped at the chance, and I've never looked back. So I'm a couple of years on now. And my role effectively is two things. It's making customers happy and growing the business. That's what I'm here to do. I've got an amazing team, very small team compared to a bank. So we sort of look at, we have 1% of the resource to deliver a better outcome. So if you look at any metric, pretty much we have 1% of the resource, and that's what banking will look like going forward. And 86400 just allows me to deliver experiences and see the real-time feedback, and Ask Nicely has been incredibly helpful with that as well.
Oh, that's good to hear. Well, look, so you've got 1% of the resources. Now, surely you understand that the stats here are stacked against you, and yet that I go onto your site and it says, we exist to offer a real alternative to how people bank today and to challenge the status quo of what banking is and how it's done. Like, I'm really keen to understand what's the premise behind 86400? What brought it to life, and what's the difference that what's the opportunity that you saw to bring something different into the market?
Yeah, so the genesis of the brand is actually in the name. So 86400 is the number of seconds in a day. And where that came from was when the whole concept of 86400 was building a bank that works for you and your money every second of every minute of every day, so you don't have to. And actually, when that was being talked through, one of our lead engineers at 86400. So that's where the name came from. But we've actually built something incredibly different in terms of, like I said, 1% of the resource. Like, that in itself is a fundamental change in any industry. But then it is customer centric. It has the customer at the center. And then how do you build experiences that help customers get jobs done? And the jobs in banking don't really change. It's how you do them changes. And that you deliver them a wonderful experience, and then you help people get more out of their money. So having a bank that's centered in technology. So we're in the cloud, we're real time, and we can deliver things in real time to customers. But then you actually also come back to the fundamentals of banking, and how do you actually get a product to market that can obviously deliver success to customers. And if we deliver success to customers, we can deliver a successful bank, which means we can keep delivering new experiences to customers. 86400
is just such a powerful idea. And I'm curious, how does that manifest itself in terms of internally, culturally, in terms of the habits and the culture of the business? Does it go beyond the idea of just the digital and online aspect?
Well, it does. So, to your question, how does it manifest? Well, the first thing is, are you looking at what your customers are saying every day? Are you understanding what customers need? So, when we go back to how we design our products, we actually design with our customers both from a conceptual perspective, but right through to an execution. So, a great example is how we do customer testing. Before we launched, we've done 18 rounds of customer testing of the app and the experience and the proposition. So rather than outsourcing to an agency, we actually run that internally. And then we send out, we're doing customer testing this week. And that goes out to the whole company who would like to be involved. And then people from the business scribe, our CEO scribes at every single customer testing session. So we did those physical. We've now obviously doing those virtually. And what that does is it actually gets everyone to understand how the product in the customer's hands is working, and you get real empathy for that. So that's sort of one example there. The other one is anything anyone says to 86400, whether it be via social, via email, via Ask Nicely, they will get responded to. And that gets actually dispersed right across the organisation. So part of my operating rhythm, for instance, is I run all the responses to the Ask Nicely platform. So I personally do that 7 days a week. It is the best way to understand how your customer is using your product, what they love, and importantly, what they don't love as well. And that, so there's the bit around the really sexy part around a new feature, new product, new experience ideas. There's then the less sexy stuff that actually really matters. Service quality for any business is the absolute core to success of your business. And that's speed of your service, doing what you say you will do, such as returning a phone call or an email. And then when problems go wrong, ask the customer and then follow it through. Banking is incredibly complex. So you can do the sexy app, but actually banking is what happens once the customer's finished with it, and then making sure you're delivering on that service promise. So there are a couple of examples of how we do things differently. And then we do it with 1% of the resources. So we're incredibly focused on what's important and what we are good at. And that whole customer-centered design piece that we did up front, the brand positioning, the brand proposition has helped us be really clear on why we exist and why we exist to help solve customer problems. And then we also make deliberate choices on what we won't do as well.
I'd love to delve a little bit more into the idea of a brand promise. It sounds like you've done you've codified what 86400 is and maybe how it's a little bit different from others that exist in the market. Like, what does your brand promise sort of comprise, and like how do you make sure that that's something that's embedded in the psyche of the people out there delivering on the mission each day?
Yeah, we did a lot of brand work up front. And then you get started, you start building and see what customers, and we actually had to revisit that. And out of that second piece of work, we really consolidated what our purpose was. And it was help Australians take control of their money. Interestingly, as we've started to evolve, it's now I help every Australian take control of their money, whether they bank with us or not. And that purpose is effectively our North Star. So when we are building a product, building an experience, servicing a customer, and thinking about what we're going to do next, we actually think through how is that going to help people take control of their money. And a good example is, let's look at our choice of what banking products we could deliver next. Now, we've looked long and hard at credit cards, and they're being changed globally with the rise of buy now, pay later. But we looked at the actual construct of the product, and the only way you make money is either if people pay late or they get trapped in revolving debt. And it didn't feel like helping people take control of their money. So that's something that we said, look, we're not going to do, but there is actually a need for people to get short-term finance. So that's something that we're looking at. How do we solve that? What helps people achieve what they're trying to achieve, but doesn't have long-term implications for their financial future. So that promise of helping and the purpose of helping people take control of their money, it's not just something that's on the wall. We actually bring everything we do back to that. And how are you helping Australians actually take control of their money?
When you think about the experience that you're delivering to your customers, and obviously the majority of that is delivered through your platform, your hope, I guess the hope and the plan is that people are getting something that's awesome reasonably consistently. But in any business, there's always the moments where things go wrong, And just interested, like, to what extent is your frontline staff part of, I guess, putting things right and making sure those experiences are consistently awesome?
But our call center is incredibly important to our proposition, because there are times when people either want to talk to someone, or if something goes wrong, it's so important to have a conversation. That can be virtually over the phone or in person. For us, actually, the call center and our team that are available on the phone or via chat actually been more powerful for our proposition than I thought. And just an example, we were actually compared against some of our peers recently by a YouTuber, and I watched it this week. And then as she's talking through the experience, the person mentioned, oh, and then I'd forgotten my PIN. And you think, oh no, how's this going to go? You never know. And then she talked about how magnificent the experience was in our call center. We answered immediately. She was back in the app. So it's actually the best experience I've ever had from a bank. And that's one of the other things that's really important. People think that, a digital neobank, it's just all about the app. No, the experience is about every single interaction. And that's the benefit that I've got in my role, because I run right across those. So it's from when you hear about us, when you download the app, when you want to talk to someone, when your card fails, when you have your accounts locked, making sure all those experiences are consistent and all those are great. And then when they're not great, own it and make it right with the customer as well.
Any process that requires human interaction, this is where you've got so much opportunity to drop the ball, and being able to sort of copy and paste the experience that you just described and be able to deliver that into hundreds and thousands of customers over time. It's not a trivial thing. How do you systemize your approach to this such that you can have that confidence? And like, is there a language or or some sort of framework that you have in place to make sure that your contact center team is able to deliver to that standard consistently?
I'd love to say that we've codified it and we're smarter than everyone, but it's not. It's the dirty work that matters. It's the daily stand up. So we actually have a daily stand up between product, IT operations, and the call center, where we literally, what are our problems today? Where are we at with that problem that was last week? How are we going with Jason, his issue last week? We talk at a customer level, and then we contact those customers back. And it's that kind of thing and that operating rhythm, which is what sets you up for the future, because you understand what your systemic issues are and what you need to fix. And then we understand what the edge cases are and you need to deal with on a one-to-one basis. The other thing is making choices of what not to do. So that's incredibly important. So at the moment, for instance, we don't do international payments because it has a huge risk profile that would bring a lot of cost into the business and a lot of risk into the business. So we decided we're not doing that right now. We're going to focus on being a great everyday bank for the majority of Australians.
So just love the idea about that daily stand-up between your IT, your operations, and your contact center. Again and again, we look at the most customer-obsessed businesses around the world. Having that daily check-in that provides a point of focus that's able to tell the story in a customer's language is one of the things that really separates the breakout successes from the also-rans. I'm just curious, other pieces of magic that you have found in terms of practices that perhaps your competitors don't do.
The most simple one, using your platform Ask Nicely. I actually respond to every customer. That's my daily ritual, 7 days a week, 365 a year. So that for me, it's better than any user testing, any research I can do, because I get to ask the next question, and you'd be surprised how willing people are to spend time to write, massive emails on what they like and they don't like. And I don't always like hearing some of it either, by the way, like any human being, and you're putting your heart and soul into something. But the reality is every bit of that feedback is valid, and you get a better view of product market fit as well. The other thing is, brands and experiences, death by 1,000 cuts. So those small things that you see come through from one customer, you can then understand, is it systemic or not? And then when you do those things every day, you can't get close to a customer by going to a call center and sitting there for a day and listening to some calls, which we've seen a lot of the big banks do. I'm going to get close to the customer today or this week. It's a customer week. No, customer is every day. It's every single day. If you are not interacting with your customers every day, you're not close to the customer. And the other benefit, so my CEO actually is in there as well, responding to customers as well. And that's part of his routine. And if you think about 86-400, if you interact with someone at 86-400, they are either the decision maker or they sit next to the decision maker. So there's only ever 1 degree of separation from anyone in our organization if you're interacting with our bank. And that level of closeness, you can't fake it. And then you see the authenticity, and we're very honest with customers as well. There's certain things that we can't do, we won't do, or we're not able to do legally. So we are always honest, even when it's not what the customer wants to hear as well. And that's what transparency is. Transparency is not having a page on your website that says we are transparent. Transparency is actually sharing the good and then sharing the bad as well. And then taking the punches on the way through as well.
When I think about feedback generally, and in any sort of survey, and we all see these surveys that come through, I think we all roll our eyes a little bit, thinking, well, if I respond to this, is anybody going to read it, let alone respond to it? So there's a best practice one in keeping that always on real time feedback going that you've clearly made work inside your organization. But the fact that you're not only responding to each piece of feedback and other best practice, but you're doing that at an executive level. Like, I would fall off my chair if I got an email from you. And I think that it sends a signal to customers if you're going to respond to the feedback and clearly demonstrate, by the role that, the title that you hold, how seriously that feedback is taken. To me, that's really going to earn my loyalty. And I'm probably going to tell somebody about it as well. So I guess these are the modern levers of growing businesses like yours, is being able to market yourself through your customers.
Yeah, look, we've got an advocacy-based growth model. The reality is, for our aspirations of what we want to grow, we could never spend to get there. To get that capital is just unrealistic. So to your point around, how do you take on the behemoths? It's actually by delivering a better product, better service, and better brand to customers, so they'll tell people about it and they'll help you grow. And then constantly getting that feedback. Are we still meeting customer expectations? Because for those that are familiar with the Kano model, that what is great today will be expected tomorrow, and then will be ordinary the day after that. So having that constant feedback. I do a very small part in our organisation of delivering to the customer. There are people in our organisation that are so much better at it than me. And I've learned so much from our head of call center. She's just so brilliant with the variety of stuff, but always accessible, always willing to take things on. Our product owners, they deal directly with customers well. So we respond to every single app store comment, because again, it's such a rich ground of feedback for us. Every email that's sent in, every phone call, but our IT operations area, they're metricized on customer outcomes as well. So each time one of our partners has got an outage, they go back and challenge what exactly is out, how long do we have to be out? And it's everyone in the organization has a role to play to deliver customer experience. And that's why we actually don't have anyone in our organization that's chief customer officer, or we've actually got quite functional titles, because actually every single person has an influence on the customer experience. And if you think about a digital bank, what's the thing that's most important? Security, number one. So our person that's responsible for that actually has the most important role. The next one is your app fast. So the person, she runs our database. Having a really fast database is much more important than what I do as a business. So having that connectivity to the customer outcome in every single role is really, really important. And when you get 100 people, that's possible. And so, how do you do that as your scale becomes really important as well. And culturally, that then comes through as you get bigger, then you're able to to replicate that, and it happens organically rather than through a system.
Totally in love with the way that you've got your IT operations, your product, your call center, all linking arms in support of the customer and not looking at that as being somebody else's job. It seems to me that there's a superpower that you've got in there that I guess the traditional organization that's siloed by function, is going to really struggle to duplicate. When you think about the frontline heroes in your business, and I guess like now that you've described that, it goes beyond just your contact center people, because you've got so much of your organization that's touching and relating with customers. Like, is there a story that exemplifies what 86400 is capable of at its best?
So our call center manager, if anyone's locked out of the app, she will get a message, an SMS. She will then log on wherever she is, contact that customer, and get them back into the app. And she gets those messages 24/7. So I think that exemplifies, customer first, because there is nothing worse than someone not being able to access their own money. So we've made sure we put that process in place that someone's always accessible. And I think that exemplifies, customer first, making sure that whatever you're doing in your life, you'll make sure someone can get back into their banking. Now, we don't get everything right all the time at all. We're like everyone. Banking's complex. We're human beings. We make mistakes. But again, if you each day, if you try to do better by the customer, then you'll be successful in the long term.
Well, that's just spectacular, and it feels like that's the post stamp story for your name of 86400 as well. I think it's just wonderful to get that level of commitment from someone like the head of your contact center. Now, what are you doing to bond people to 86400? Because this is above and beyond expectations that in a traditional organization we wouldn't ask of people.
We didn't start there. We've worked really hard on culture as an organization. So, our view is everyone that works at 86400 is a leader in their own right, whether it's a leader in their discipline, a leader in themselves, how they bring themselves to work, how they live our values, and a leader in how they're leading the customer as well. So that's the first thing, that culture's not just the responsibility of the exec, it's actually responsibility of everyone. As an exec, we actually set, by what we do, that sets the culture, and we've got long shadows, that whole adage, so that doesn't change. Recruitment's incredibly important for us. One of the things we say is when we go through the spiel, neobanks is sexy. So we'll talk through the reasons why you should join. We also tell you the 3 to 5 reasons why you shouldn't join. Because the reality is you'll probably work harder than you ever have. You will do things at this level in your career that you've never done, but every day you will also do things here that you did when you started out. So you've got to be able to flex, and you've got to be able to deal with incredible levels of ambiguity in an organisation like this. And then every single day you'll do things for the first time. So that helps making sure you're getting the right people coming in. And then culture is a thing that you do every day, and culture, and I don't think it eats strategy for breakfast, it eats execution. And that's an example there. If you don't have the right culture, you haven't got someone that's going to, on the weekend, at a cafe, then when they get home, they're going to log on and sort a customer out. That's something that's true above and beyond. Now, we have examples of that right through the organisation. People getting up at 2 a.m. to respond to alert in our tech team, or our marketing team responding over social media, 365 days. So there's lots of different examples, but it does come back to culture, but it's also every single thing you do every day. And then you get a good idea of who are the right people for your organisation going forward. And the other one, you have such an enormous growth opportunity when you come to a startup, as you'd know, Aaron. You get to understand that you're capable of doing more things than you thought. You might not necessarily be that great at them, but you can get them done. And then also, the other thing, you'd be surprised at how great people can be. And I get surprised every day, not just on the capability of people. Like we've had a lot of people that are coming in, this is their first job, and they are quickly better at me than things that I've been doing for 10, 20 years. So getting the right people and then setting them up to actually be their best. That's, people that can be their best every day will then help drive that culture, and the customers will feel that at the other end.
That must be incredibly satisfying. So I know that you've just recently celebrated your first year of your banking license. I'm interested, like, what's the scorecard like for you at 86-400 a year in? How do you rate your performance to this date? How does it feel? And then what does the future look like when 86-400 sort of realizes its potential and reaches its destiny?
Yeah, look, we've had our first year is better than we all expected. Now, is it where we want to be? No, there's so many things that you reflect back and go, oh, could have done this, would like to do this. But if you actually look at the traditional scorecard, which we all have, then there's big green ticks on those. Where we'd like to go going forward is really bringing insight-driven banking to life. So when we launched, we've got some incredibly different experience. You can bring all your bank accounts into the one place. We predict your bills that are coming. You can sign up in 2 minutes. You have instant access to all of your money. But for us, it's now we've got those foundations in place. It's now, with your permission, using your data to help you get more out of your money is where we want to take the bank. And that's where a lot of people in our business are really, really passionate about. And then I think what COVID has also shown is sustainable businesses are really, really important. So we're very focused on not just growing the deposit side of our business, but also the lending side of our business. And that's the big focus for us in the next 12 months. We've got some really good momentum there, and bringing that same service ethos into the lending side of our business is really, really important for us. And we're working closely with brokers or intermediaries, as I think they're called. So we have a B2B part of our business as well. So bringing that focus is pretty exciting for us as well in the next 12 months.
Awesome. Okay, so now last question. Let's look back, and over your career, you've held big leadership roles in some of the biggest banking brands in the country. Now you're challenging those same banks with 86-400. If you look back at the 20-year-old version of Travis, what advice would you give to your younger self about creating magic in your company?
The first one is work hard. No one was successful by not working hard. So that is the number one. Are you doing enough every day? The second one is, don't put yourself in a box. Everyone is more capable than they probably think they are themselves. So don't doubt yourself. And if you work hard, you're open to challenging yourself and learning new skills, and then you're good to work with, you'll be successful. So, if I look back, I probably spent a little bit too much time in particular disciplines. I wish I had scaled a little earlier and tried more things. I think with the way that business and automation and technology is going, I think broader skill set will become more important in the future, because the concept, there won't be in Australia, there won't be 40,000 people organisations. They won't exist in 10 years. It's not feasible. So I would say for anyone is get as many skills you can, particularly when you're younger. And then even when you're older like me, you can, old dogs can learn new tricks. That would be it for me.
Well, as an old dog, there's some hope for me yet. I think we should end on that, because it's just been fantastic to talk to you, Travis. I love the 86-400 story, and I wish you continued success and all the best going forward. Thanks so much.
Thank you, and have a great day in Oregon, and to everyone, stay safe.